Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are watching this career webinar. Folks, good evening to you. I hope you're going to enjoy the next 45 minutes or so as we focus on this career webinar on careers in accounting. My name is Andrew Binning, and I'm with a company called Inkanyezi Events. We've been offering free career guidance resources for the past 23 years. Within the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro and the Eastern Cape Province. Every year we host an exhibition and also produce a career guidance workbook. Of course, with the COVID pandemic, it's been difficult to host the exhibition this year, so we look forward to hosting again next year. But we're very proud and excited to be hosting a series of different career webinars focusing on different careers. So today is the focusing on accounting, careers in accounting. I want to invite you wherever you are to relax, to grab your cup of coffee. I've got mine over here, and sit back and relax. Invite your family to come and join you as we hear more about careers in accounting. I want to invite you to ask as many questions as possible as well to our panelists this evening. So feel free to ask any questions. You can use your name and what school you are from or where you are from, or you could remain anonymous if you so wish to as well. So please do ask your questions. We want to hear as many of your questions as possible. Today's webinar is sponsored and hosted by SAICA, the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, and project manager Belinda Alwetu Ketse is our host for this evening. And Alwetu will be introducing our panelists and taking us through the session. Please don't leave, because right at the end is also an interactive DVD, which will be sharing a lot more about careers in accounting as well. And after the DVD, Alwetu and I will close off the session for today. So thank you for being with us. It's going to be an exciting session, next 45 minutes or so. And I'd like to now invite Alwetu to take over and introduce our panelists for this evening. Alwetu, good evening to you. Nice to have you with us as part of this first webinar in association with PE Express. So over to you. Thank you, Alwetu.
Thank you, Andrew. Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. As Andrew mentioned, my name is Alwetu Ketse. I actually have a colleague called Belinda, so I thought, you were contacting my colleague as well. And as Andrew mentioned, I'm with the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, SAICA. What SAICA is an oversight body for persons who are chartered accountants and for learners and students who are on the road to becoming chartered accountants. And so today we have two panelists, one of which is a trainee accountant on her way to becoming a registered CASA, as well as a member of SAICA, who is qualified as a CASA. And so going forward now, I'm just going to introduce Abby Maya. She's the trainee on her way to becoming a CASA. Abby, welcome and thank you for being here with us. If you could just spend 2 or 3 minutes just telling us a bit more about yourself and why you chose the CASA career to pursue. Over to you, Abby.
Thank you, Alwetu. Hi, guys. I'm currently a second-year audit trainee at Deloitte PE office. I studied at NMMU. So I finished my BCom accounting there and then went on to my postgraduate diploma in accounting. Used to be known as your... can't think of the name now. But yeah, I did my honors and then moved in to my first year last year, so you can imagine how that went. Did work for about a month and a bit and went straight into lockdown. So definitely been an interesting start to the working experience. I just wanted to say an interesting fact about myself, I would say, is I did accounting idols at NMU. If any of you know of NMMU, we used to do an accounting idols, and that was pretty fun. So it's one thing to do as an accountant, is make fun by doing a parody on a song with accounting lyrics. It's definitely something accountants don't usually do, but we did that, me and my best friend, and we actually won, which was really fun. Besides that, studying to be a CA, when I got into it, I really didn't know what I was expecting of it. I knew I loved accounting and math was good for me. And starting the stream, I started to figure out a lot more about it. So I feel like this is going to be definitely a nice introduction for you to understand what the field is all about and give you a better knowledge of what the CA stream is for you.
Thanks, Abby. Maybe you can give us a rendition sometime later of your Accounting Idol song that you and your bestie won. Thank you so much for that intro to yourself, Abby. Next up, our next panelist is Gwenga Makrina. He is a CASA with the Coca-Cola Company. Gwenga, same thing with you. If you can just spend 2 or 3 minutes telling us a bit about yourself and why you chose the CASA career to pursue. Over to you.
Okay. Hi guys, my name is Gwenga Makrina. I studied NMMU as well, did my honors like Abby, went through NMM, well, it's NMU now, I think, it's not NMMU, but I did while it was the full name. I did my articles at KPMG. After that, I went and worked for Coca-Cola Beverages Africa. Coca-Cola Beverages Africa owns about 13 bottlers in Africa, and about there. So I'm one of the reporting accountants. I assist in making sure we consolidate our numbers as Africa as a whole. My interests and funds, I'm an avid sport lover. My sport affects my moods. So this week I've been in a great mood, the box one. That's pretty much about me. I think it's been 4 years now I've been working at Coke. I think so. I did my articles a while back. Yeah, that's all. That all is about me.
Thanks, Gwenga, and hopefully the Bucks will secure another win to win the Test series this weekend. So rooting for the Bucks for sure. Okay, so going into our questions, we're going to be asking our panelists a couple of questions. And as Andrew had mentioned, as the audience, you are allowed to pose some questions that we can ask the panelists during our time here. And so the first question I'm going to ask, and I think I'm going to pose it to Abby because she sort of touched on it a bit. And the question is, what does a typical day at the office look like? And how different is that reality from your expectation whilst you were studying at university?
Thanks. So with what I expected it to kind of be was you'd be out at all these different clients, get to change it up every day kind of thing, and be doing something different, interacting with very many people of different backgrounds, different management levels and all that. So yeah, for me, at the beginning, it seemed like it was going good. The first month and a bit, it was going strong. I was still like on a short-term client at that stage. So I was getting to meet a lot of their management. So it wasn't just one person all the time. So I was like, cool. And then we got the notification that we had to go into lockdown. So we did go into lockdown a little bit before the actual lockdown set in, and we worked from home. So I have to say that was not what I expected it to be. I mean, you get to wake up just before 8 o'clock and then you just switch on your laptop and you start working. You don't have to get fully dressed for this. And I'm like, this is not what I expected. I literally bought a brand new wardrobe to start working and I didn't get to wear all these outfits. You know, that TikTok trend, that one, I feel like I'm that one. But anyway, so yeah, I have to say working remotely was definitely a challenge. You don't get to see your colleagues very often. And it was very much, you had to maintain communication. And it was very much on me. Like I had to be emailing, I had to be phoning. And I mean, for someone who's just gotten into a working environment to phone a financial director or a manager or something like that, it's very daunting. So I have to say it was definitely something different. But we came back at the end of mid last year, we started going back to clients. So, I mean, for that aspect, I mean, going back to clients, that side of things, it's actually really fun. You get to actually see how a business operates, which I think is really interesting. And you get to interact with different levels of management. I mean, you interact with a financial director as if you're at his level in a sense. You questioning him and asking him how he does things. So, I mean, it is very much, it sort of makes you feel like you actually see the worth in your degree and in your qualification that you're getting to, because you're able to ask questions of people in the higher up positions of management. and get yourself to start thinking about situations and potential problems or issues that could be you could reach and things like that. So I mean, it's a very I would say you get to use your brain very often. I mean, that's what I have to say about our career. If I've had a very hectic week, it's my brain is tired. I need to switch off my brain. It's nothing else, mainly my brain. So I mean, I have to say it's a very you use your head for everything. You're thinking on like constantly. You're trying to adapt. You're trying to change your mindset. You're trying to be like, okay, well, this worked for this client, but in this client, it's a different situation. So everything is a lot to do about your thinking. You're challenging yourself, and I feel like that's a very key aspect to the job every day.
Thanks, Abby. So you would say that someone who's trying to pursue the CASA career needs to be able to adapt quickly to changes and also think outside the box and be creative. I love that. Hopefully you were able to, once you got back to your clients, able to fit into your new workloads again. So really happy that you were able to do that. Toenga, I think I have the same question for you. How different is the working experience to what you thought you would be experiencing whilst you were studying?
When I was studying, I always thought, can you guys hear me? I shouldn't be on mute. Can you hear me? My work experience, I always thought we would, I would just be sitting there, doing debits and credits, working just strictly numbers like a big accounting book. I got to varsity and kind of realized maybe in my honors year that being a CA is more than just numbers and stuff like that. It's about evaluating decisions as we're moving along and going through everything, right?
Coming and going. I don't know why.
It's about evaluating decisions.
Yeah, evaluating decisions. So we moved on from there and kind of got to a place where decision making was also like it's about evaluating all the financial decisions you would make. When I went into articles, I kind of picked up what the other side. So when you audit, you kind of pick up the end of a transaction. Now that I'm working as a CA, I'm more in between what goes on to a company throughout the year, what it should look like on a monthly basis instead of on an annual basis. And most of my job is really kind of aligning systems and making sure that our numbers, whatever is processed through our numbers, gets to a good place. So
Thanks,
that's pretty much,
Toenga.
yeah.
Thank you so much. Just for the audience watching, Abby and Toenga were talking about training and articles, just so you have a good understanding. So to become a CA, it takes about 7 years. Minimum to qualify as a chartered accountant. So as Abby had alluded earlier, you study for a BCom accounting degree. That would be at a SAICA accredited institution, and NMU is one of those institutions. You study your BCom accounting degree for 3 years, and then you do 1 year of honors, which is also called your PGDA or CTA as well. And then once you're done with those 4 years, you enter into an articles of trainee clerkship. That is 3 years of training on the job, where you learn, I guess, how to become a good CA during that time. And so that is the process that Abby is currently in right now as a trainee. And so segueing from that, my question to you, Abby, is as a trainee, what are some of the things that you wish you knew before you started?
So some of the things I wish I knew before I started would be pretty much what auditing is. I mean, you have this idea of what auditing is from the understanding of, a company got audited and that kind of aspect. So you're like, okay, well, so obviously they're finding the things that are going wrong. They're trying to find the fraud. That's what your brain goes to. So I was like, that was my understanding of it. And when you get to your studies and all that, you do learn a lot more. So, I mean, I wish I understood a bit more to the concept of auditing, where you're actually looking into transactions and you're finding the reasoning, you're following the understanding of management to see that what is being recorded in their books is is reasonable. And there's we're not looking for the fraud. We're not going to find fraud. But the whole aim of it is that while you're doing these procedures, you're checking that management is actually doing things in the correct manner according to the IFRS standards, and if there is deviations, why are there deviations, and is this a deviation, perhaps an instance of fraud? So a lot of that you get that understanding from your studies. And I mean, another thing that I didn't understand or wish I had known about the field is sort of like how the 3 years would impact my CA. Like I was like, okay, cool, my 3 years at varsity, then my honors year, and then I don't know, then I'm just working for 3 years. But there's so much more value to your 3 years that you don't realize until you get into them. I mean, you get to learn the soft skills, how to communicate with people, how to email people, how to deal with difficult situations and deal with a team situation. So, I mean, you get team projects at school and things like that, but this is a different level. You're dealing with people who do not have the same process, like they don't work through things in the same way as you. And you now need to know how to deal with someone who's possibly a completely different person. I might be this very, very organized person. And then you get someone who's a bit more like free. They don't really stick to like a set schedule, but they've got this mind where they can figure things out. And when it comes to a complex accounting, tax, or whatever situation, they're able to figure those things out, and they can actually deal with those challenging situations a lot better than you perhaps. But you don't understand that because you're like, well, I'm very organized, I follow the routine. So I mean, it's definitely something that your 3 years gives you that you never would have realized until you got to them. So I think that's something that's really interesting. So don't see the 3 years as, oh, I've just got to get through 3 years of work. That's another stepping stone. It's another point for you to learn, but it's another type of learning than your actual studies. So yeah.
Chiefers, what a comprehensive answer. Thank you so much, Abby. And I think that's a really great point to make, especially for learners who are still going to go into university next year, is that those times that you spend at university aren't really just a means to an end of getting to your degree. You really just need to be sure that you take whatever it is that you learn in those years that you're at university and try and, as much as possible, implement them in your working field as well. Gwenga, the question that I want to ask you, Abby has sort of said how her experience has been as a trainee. And now that you've qualified and working, as you said, on the other end, working in a company, how is that experience different from when you were a trainee to now you're a qualified CA and working at a company and actually working with their financials?
It's extremely different. Now, remember when you did the articles, I used to go from one audit job to another. So I'd work 2 months here, 2 months there, 2 months there. So once you kind of have many jobs as you're going along. So in those different jobs, you'll be responsible for different things, and you kind of don't get to see the final product. And you'll get the audit report, whatever the case may be, but you move on to the next job. So my job now is on a monthly basis to make sure that I am responsible for instance, I'm responsible for making sure that our TCCC transactions, our US GOB transactions, we're able to suck away from the IFRS and record per American standards. So on a monthly basis, I must ensure that every transaction we pick up, every new transaction we have, how is that recorded on an American type basis? I must ensure that I must have a clue about world news. So I must know that the Zambian currency is tanking or the rand is doing badly. So I kind of have an idea of what my exchange rate is going to be at month end and how that exchange rate will affect my profit figure at the end of the month. Because at the kind of the middle of the month, I'll have to project what we're going to look like at the end of the month. So when you kind of go to your articles, you kind of have multiple projects that you kind of do all the time. Where now I'm doing one singular project on a yearly basis, but I've got different tasks to that project, and I have to find ways of tweaking and making those tasks better as I go along. Interacting with people, all of a sudden now my opinion now as a proper CA, it's not that I can go to my 30 article clock or as you're going up the ranks. My opinion as a CA is my final opinion. So I have to justify my final opinion according to the standards and then work towards of what you think. So there's a little bit more pressure now because, you walk into a room and you have to make sense of the room. People are actually listening to what I have to say. Not necessarily when I was doing my articles and stuff like that. I do a work paper, and that's a part of the bigger picture. Where now I am kind of not the bigger picture, obviously, not yet, and hopefully one day I will be. But I'm a big cog, so I have to make sure and ensure that every month I improve and get better at what I do. So I've got one simple job, but it's got so many parts to it. It's like little projects going along, but they continue on an annual basis. And every time of the year, I kind of figure out where I'm at. So in December, I'm thinking of Abby and the auditing. In June, I'm thinking of our results and management reporting. So it's a bigger difference, but it all makes sense.
Awesome. So Gwenga, just while on that point, you did mention that you were you work in the Africa space, so you work with a lot of African countries, and then just now you mentioned the fact that you have to incorporate whatever transactions that you do here into American standards. So are there opportunities, international working opportunities for people who are wanting to become chartered accountants?
Oh yeah, the world's your oyster. I've got so many friends working all over the world. I've got a friend that's working in the UK. I've got a friend that's working in America. I mean, literally, it's like a free passport to when you become a CA, you kind of can work anywhere. I mean, I could literally work in America as we speak now. I might have to write an exam to be a formal version of their CA, but they'll still take me, and I'll be used with my CASA tag. I mean, it's amazing the impact that you have being called a South African chartered accountant. It's just, if you have that name behind you, pretty much can go anywhere in the world and work and do many different things. Not necessarily you can be in finance. Some people are still in auditing. Others are doing in marketing. It's just, it opens up so many doors. I've got friends all over the world that I did articles with as well, and they're all over the world and scattered out. I love the profession just because of that. Is that, I mean, I could right now, pack my bags and be off to the UK. Even on LinkedIn, I get recruiters from the UK asking to recruit me.
That's awesome. Abby, do you have anything to add to Gwenga's comments?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I know from my point of view, I mean, I've had third years that were with me last year. One of them's currently in Bermuda. I look at her Instagram and I'm like, oh, I want to go there. So she's doing auditing there at the moment. So, I mean, she's pretty much doing what she did in her 3 years, but she's doing it on an island and she's on boats. And I'm like, shoo, I want to be doing this one day. But yeah, like there are so many opportunities. So with auditing, I know for a fact most firms have secondments. So after your 3 years, you can do from 3 months up to 18-month contracts all over the world. Wherever there's availabilities and jobs that are needed, then you can apply for them and hopefully get them. I mean, most people get them, especially from South Africa. They really like South Africans. We're hard workers. But yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely planning on doing it. After my 3 years, I'm aiming to go across, not too sure where exactly, but I'm definitely aiming to go across. And I mean, that is a thing with the CA field. That's what Goika was saying, was that there's so many different opportunities. You don't have to stay in auditing. You don't have to go into finance. I mean, I'm currently, I'm the chair of Psychotaz PE, which is our trainee association. And we're doing a Q&A discussion with various different CAs that have gone into different routes. Some have started their own businesses because as a CA, you see how businesses operate. You can start your own one. If you've been thinking of doing a coffee shop someday, you might just go into that. I mean, if you have a good business sense, you can do anything in terms of the business world. And it's honestly, the world is your oyster. You have so many opportunities. You just need to be willing to look for them and decide what you want to do. I mean, open yourself up to them and make yourself available and willing to look for those opportunities.
Awesome. That is a great point, Abby. Be willing to make yourself available for opportunities. That is a life lesson for anything, not just if you're wanting to become a CA, but just in any field of work or just in your life in general. There are two questions that I do want to tackle from the audience at the moment. So from the one is from Josie from Alexandra Road High School. And the question she's asking is, or he or she, is, do all universities in South Africa offer accounting studies? So Josie, in order for you to become a chartered accountant, you need to study at a university and study a degree that is SAICA accredited. So that means that SAICA, as the oversight body for CAs, has looked at the degree that the university offers and has deemed it as appropriate study for you to then go on to be a trainee, as well as then on to becoming a chartered accountant. So in the Eastern Cape, the universities that do offer SAICA accredited BCom accounting degrees are NMU, which is Nelson Mandela University. It's Rhodes University in Makanda/Grahamstown. It is University of Fort Hare in East London, and it's also the Walter Sisulu University, which is, and they have their campus based in Tata. Outside of the Eastern Cape, just a quick rundown of universities. It's University of Johannesburg, Wits University, University of Pretoria, University of Cape Town, Stellenbosch University, as well as University of the Western Cape, as well as University of Free State, and University of Northwest. And then the other one is the University of Limpopo, UKZN, University of KwaZulu-Natal. So those are the SAICA accredited BCom accounting degrees. So you know you're on the right track to becoming a chartered accountant if you study at those institutions. And there's
just
also
to throw a shout out for NMMU. We have about 95% pass rate on our ITC. So hint, guys. You know,
we're a little bit biased this time.
So hint, guys. You know.
So feeding into that question is a question from Nikki T, which is asking, what subjects do you need and what percentage do you need to be able to study to become a CA? So mostly across the board, BCom accounting entrance requirements are at least a 60% in mathematics. So that's pure mathematics, not maths literacy, unfortunately. And then obviously English, because that is the medium of instruction. So those are the main subjects that you need, but also for learners who are going into university next year, please be aware that they obviously are not just looking at those two subjects. They are looking at your APS score. So you need to be able to do well in all of your subjects and not just those two subjects that are requirements in order for you to gain entry into a good university one, and then also gain entry into a SAICA accredited BCom accounting degree. Okay, so those are the questions I'm just going to keep for now. So going into questions into our panelists, they say that CASAs are difference makers. Gwenga, how do you feel you are being a difference maker in your job right now?
So being a CA is, the reason why we call different makers is that whatever skills, I'm sure Abby, you could attest this, the skills you learn in your growth as a CA are so entwined that you're able to project manage at a very different level. You're able to deal with HR issues. You're able to deal with IT issues as well. Because you're a CA, you kind of see the business up top and kind of see how it filters through. Now, through our studying and stuff like that, you'd find that you learn to analyze and break down any problem and get solutions that are fit for that problem, or a number of different solutions that are fit for the problem. Now, to say I'm a difference maker, I mean, take now, for instance, I'm correlating between two entities, right? A company in South Africa, and that has a number of companies in Africa, and I'm also correlating someone in the States, and I'm doing that all in one go. Now we can talk about difference making. Is that if we have an issue, let's say put it this way, most of our MDs in country are mostly CAs. So most of the guys that are actually in charge in the different countries have a CA degree. You'd find most CEOs are CAs as well, particularly in the JSE 5, the stock exchange. So it's that sense of being able to problem solve, being able to see things in its little, like a vein. Do you understand when I say like a vein, where there's one stream and it breaks down to many different flows? So as CAs and in your training, you're able to see all those different flows. And if you really want to find difference makers, you look at our maybe like our top 30 under top 35 under 35. So we move on, and you'd find guys involved in many different projects. And as I said, to prove that most of us are difference makers, most of us sits in boards and are CEOs of multiple companies. Now, at the stage that I'm at right now in my CA career, I'm not yet at a stage of, I'm still growing. In CA's terms, I'm still a puppy, really. So every year I get better. I understand decision making. I understand different problems. So that ability to be able to deal with situations on a multiple front helps us to become different makers. Now you can also look at it in the sense of, let's say, auditors. Auditors are different makers because they make sure that everyone's money is spent correctly, public money is spent correctly, because that's their job. So we are different makers in that side. And if you look at the work that the AG has been doing around South Africa, they are different makers. They're letting us know what's going wrong. Not in a bad way, in a good way, but difference making is difference making. You could be difference making by telling bad news, or you could be difference making by telling a bunch of good news. But that's why we become the ultimate difference maker. I always call us, that knife with multiple sockets. I forget what it's called now. I used to have it growing. Yeah, a Swiss knife.
Oh.
So we're kind of a Swift knife of businesses. You pretty much walk in there, and you pretty much feel comfortable in doing anything. So that's why we're different makers. I think that's the one sentence I'd use. That chartered accountants are Swift knives. We've got so many pockets. There's so many things we can do to pry things open.
Thanks, Linga. Abby, do you have anything to add to being a difference maker?
So, because I'm I'm even more smaller fry than you, there's not much that we little people can do. But I mean, so at the moment, as a second year, I believe that you start off small and you start off with the smallest of things. I mean, you have the opportunity to make a difference. And if you can believe that, you'll find ways to do it. And using your CA degree, you go into areas of companies that usually you'd never be able to see unless you build your way up. So I find it's actually the way I feel that I do it in my work on a daily basis is to be the auditor that clients almost like to have around. I make a relationship with the clients. Clients usually don't like auditors. They are not keen on having us around. Wonder why. But anyway,
I can agree with that, Abby. I can definitely agree with that, but we're not here.
They're not fond of us, hey? No, but I like to be that auditor that'll come in at 8 o'clock, and the first thing I'll do is I'll go say hi to the client, check in with them, how's their day gone, how did their weekend go, did they have plans, whatever. Or just smiling and laughing and just having fun with the person, not just making it so serious and having this serious relationship with the client. I think it just helps to make a difference in their lives as well. I mean, a client doesn't like to have someone coming in asking all these questions constantly while you're trying to do your normal work that you need to be doing anyway. So, I mean, I do find that just doing those little things being a person that they can actually interact with, and you're being a person and not just a robot asking for everything that you want. Because I do find that when you're getting into auditing, it does become that way. You just want all the stuff and you want it quick because you want to get your work done. But I do feel like that is an important aspect to keep as a CA, becoming a CA, is to be different. Don't stick to this so almost stuffy kind of mindset. I mean, people are people. And I mean, specifically now with this virtual world, I feel like people are losing that aspect. And I mean, we do need to keep that. I mean, if we lose that side of things, I mean, are we really going to be enjoying our time if we can't interact with people properly? So, I mean, I feel like that is a very important thing, especially to make a difference and to make people's lives a little bit better along the way while doing things.
Definitely, you need to for sure remember that people are people and maintain that human contact with people. I do have a controversial question from an audience member, from Ati from Global Leadership Academy. Ati's question is, how financially rewarding is being an accountant? I'll let you tackle that one first.
I honestly say it is what you make of it. I have this viewpoint with everything I've done. everyone has different views on what it's like. And you'll always find someone with a different point of view from my point of view or from Kwenga's point of view. So like everyone's going to have a different point of view, but it's what you make of it. If you have this negative viewpoint on it or a negative outlook, I don't see you coming out with anything else. So when I came into CA, there are other people who were having to work tons of overtime hours on clients and they were just not enjoying their time. I went onto an overtime client and I was like, oh, I could be having the same thing that this other person's having and just dread it. But then I was like, but I'm with these cool people. We have fun. We started doing things like we were like, okay, cool. We're so cool. We started giving each other nicknames because people were doing weird things. And then at the end of our audit, we were like, cool. We're making mugs with these nicknames on them because we're that cool. I mean, you make it what you want to make it. You can make a terrible time into a really awesome time if you want to make it. So that is just my viewpoint. I don't know what the rest of you believe, but that is my viewpoint. It is what you make of it.
That's a good viewpoint to have. Tanga, what is your take on Ati's question on whether it's financially rewarding being a CA?
I feel like I did answer this though. Did I say that most CEOs in South Africa are CAs? I don't know. Anyway, apart jokes aside and everything else, everything has a scale. You'll get guys earning a lot of money in the investment side. You get guys. So what I can guarantee about the CA field is not necessarily millionaire status. It's job security. At the very I don't know. All my friends pretty much are CAs and they all work. And I'm not gonna say I'm doing financially badly. Let me put it that way. But for me, I think the key there is not saying it's financially rewarding. It just allows you to be more financially stable. I'd say. As you said, you can work anywhere in the world. So even if, let's say, things dry up in South Africa, I mean, someone else has a job somewhere. So that's how I'd put it. Again, it's like anything, if Messi's paid about £400,000 a week, and another soccer player's paid about £50,000 a week. It all depends how good you are at what you do, and are you at the right place at the right time. But it does guarantee. I must say, I can't say 100% because obviously the world, it is what it is. But it just provides a nice job security. Would be the answer I'd give.
And I think we're all looking for a bit of job security for sure. I do have two questions from viewers, and the first is from Dion Engelke, and the question is, if you meet the minimum requirements for accessing a BCom accounting degree at a South African university, is it guaranteed you'll be accepted? I think I'll tackle this one. Dion, there's more than just Dion and the people that are watching this webinar right now that are applying at universities, and not just the one university, all across South Africa. So the most important thing is to make sure that you stand out as a candidate for that university outside from the rest. And that means that you have a good track record in terms of your academics, and also you have a good track record in terms of, I guess, your extracurricular activities as well. I know that's been difficult, obviously, with COVID this past year, but universities look a lot more than just the minimum requirements. And as I mentioned earlier, you need to look at your APS score, which is the score that they count in counting all your subjects that you've done at school. And different universities have different ways on how they calculate their APS scores. So you would need to then just do your homework in terms of finding out what the APS score is needed for that university that you want to apply for. And then another question from Tanya Van Sale is, do companies offer job shadowing opportunities? Abby?
Yeah, so I mean, I did my studies, and I think I did VAC work. So that's what they call it with most firms. You can do vacation work. I mean, I did it in grade 12 already, I think. So I mean, if you go to certain of the audit firms, you just apply for their vacation work program. I think most do like a small rate as well, so you get like a little bit of payment on the side as well, but you get to actually see what an audit's about. Sometimes you get to be involved in it. Other times you just get to pretty much be a data capturer, but you get to see what it's all about and interact with an audit team. So, I mean, I would definitely suggest doing job shadowing and VAC work at a firm just to get a feel on it, just to see what it's about. Also, when you're deciding on which firm you want to sign with, it is a very good idea to be doing a vacation work program with them so that you can decide, okay, well, maybe this firm isn't exactly the environment that I'd like to be working in for 3 years, because a 3-year contract is a long time. So, I mean, you do want to also make a good decision on which firm you want to do. So I would start thinking about that when you get into your studies and start, every time you have like a recess, get at least one of those vacation weeks into your vacation time.
Sure. Thanks, Abby. We're coming to sort of an end to our time for the webinar, but I'd just like to get the panelists, Glenga and Abby, to give any final words to learners and any final encouragements, and also just give an idea sort of on what qualities, if one is wanting to pursue a CASA degree, what qualities they should be trying to sort of skill set they should be trying to sort of build from now going forward. Glenga, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I'll talk about my journey, for instance. So I think I was in about grade 12 in March. Had no clue really exactly what I wanted to do. I did okay in school. And then we went to, I think it was NMMU at the time. And okay, check back. I went to Muir College, so in Utenex. So we traveled for an evening down to NMMU to see. It was an accounting day. The MD of KPMG Eastern Cape came through, and he chatted about the career of being a chartered accountant. I liked it at the time. It seemed like something I wanted to do. Again, I think I fell into the trap of the other questions asked about the financial rewards. So I'm like, okay, this seems like this has lots of money. So I went ahead and did it. I don't regret it one bit. Is it difficult? Hell yeah. I'm not gonna lie and say you're gonna go in, you're gonna be smart, you're gonna be successful. But it's difficult, but it's very rewarding. You feel stronger every day. Your articles, again, Abby, take my hat off to you. Your articles are a very big part of what you do, and they matter. And then the next part of it would be is the journey towards it and the difficulty. My advice is you keep chugging along. You'll fail along the way. By the way, I'm a full-grown CA here, and I failed my board 2 exam once, but doesn't matter much. I still have a certificate that goes CASA. So it's about the journey. It's about just digging in, meeting new people, experiencing new things. It's the world's your oyster. That's the exciting part about being a chartered accountant. I don't come here. I work from home these days. I think you guys can see that's a picture of my mother. But every day I come in here and I'm happy because I've got a different challenge, a different perspective. I don't miss my articles. Sorry to say, Abby. But guys, I don't know how much more I can encourage you to go for this. I really can't. If you can, but it's not going to be easy. That's the thing about it. So it's up to you guys what you guys decide you want to do.
Thanks, Glenga. Right. Abby, just final thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with him entirely. I knew from the start it was going to be a challenge, but I wanted the challenge. Like, I wanted to try for it and do my best and get there. And I have to say, I mean, I was an A student in high school. I was pretty good at the beginning of the studies, and then got to the end. CTA kind of whacked my butt a little bit. I got a bit of a knock. So I mean, it's really like it's what you make of it, and you honestly, it's a challenge, but it is rewarding. Like, as you go along, there are things you figure out about yourself. You figure out that you're actually really resilient. You can come back from things. You actually pretty good at certain things that you never realized you were. So, I mean, I would have to say that a successful CA is going to be someone who can manage their time, who can adapt to change, and like someone who is ready for a challenge and sets their goals and aims to achieve it. I mean, honestly, it gets to times where you are like, why am I doing this? Should I even continue? And like, it's a real question, guys. I'm not joking. I asked myself that when it got to my CTA year, and then it got to my first year of articles. So I mean, my CTA year, I asked myself that question. And what you need to know is what your aim was at the beginning. What was your goal and why did you start it? If you can get back to that answer, then you will get through it. Because honestly, you need to be goal driven. You need to set yourself up. You need to inspire yourself, because sometimes your inspiration doesn't always come. So you need to be able to inspire yourself and get through it. Because honestly, right at the end of the rainbow is that CASA behind your name. And it's probably going to be a wonderful moment when I get there. Not there yet, but getting there.
All the best in
Definitely is.
getting this, Abby.
Definitely is, Abby. Definitely is. It's very cool when you sign your name and then you have CSA next to it. It's really nice. It's a very nice feeling.
All right. Thank you so much to our panelists. We really appreciate your time and answering our questions. I do see that there are some questions coming in from the Facebook account. We are running short of time, but I do believe that I am able to answer some questions on the Facebook page. So all the questions that are coming in from Facebook now we'll be able to answer after the session. Right now, we're just going to play a quick video.
If some of the questions are maybe you want an answer like on email and stuff, you can email me some of them and I'll respond if necessary. I don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And so right now we're just going to play a quick video just explaining the CASA career. And after that, Andrew will then just sign off. Correct, Andrew? Great. Thank you so much, everyone.
Correct. Let's watch the video, then we'll...
What kind of tomorrow do you want to shape? A connected world, working together to prosper and thrive? Well, if you want an exciting career where you can contribute to something bigger than yourself, becoming a chartered accountant, CASA, puts you in a position to make a real difference, giving you the skills and perspectives to build the tomorrow you want. How? Because becoming a CASA is your passport to changing the world. As difference makers, CASAs have the skills, knowledge, and insight to drive business decisions that help create the better societies, economies, and communities for a more prosperous future for us all. Being the head and heart of a business. CASAs are not only able to run companies, 74% of JSE's top 200 company chief financial officers, CFOs, and almost a third of JSE's top 40 CEOs are CASA. They are able to start their own companies and be their own boss too. And that means you can make your passion a reality. A highly promising and varied career. As a CASA, you can work in just about any industry of choice, in all fields of business and finance, and more specifically, in auditing, tax, financial management, information technology, management accounting, forensic accounting and insolvency, as well as academia, public and private sector, NGOs, and more. An internationally recognized career. Improving your chances of being headhunted by top employers throughout your career. Holding prestigious positions in the private and public sector and in academia. Contributing to making South Africa a better place through giving back in a number of different ways. Hi, my name is Ntato Silibi, Project Director at the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, SAICA for short. And today I want to tell you about how you can become a CASA. So let's get straight into it. The first thing you need to know is that the minimum requirements for university admission to a CA stream BCom degree are a level 5 pass in mathematics, together with a national senior certificate with a bachelor's pass. You need to take pure mathematics as a subject, not maths literacy. You need to pass it well. That means achieving 60% or more. You also need a good grounding in English, as it will help you to understand the concepts you will study. Many learners believe that having accounting as a school subject is compulsory to study towards your degree. While it can help you in your studies towards your degree, it isn't compulsory. Now let's talk universities. If you want to be a CASA, you need to ensure that the university you're applying to offers a BCom qualification that is accredited by the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, SAICA. A full list of universities that offer SAICA accredited BCom accountancy programs can be found on SAICA's website, www.saica.co.za. Once you've completed the 3-year undergraduate degree, you'll need to obtain a certificate in the theory of accounting, CTA or honors equivalent. This is a postgraduate course and focuses on accounting, auditing, taxation, and financial management. It takes a minimum of 1 year to complete and must be completed at a SAICA accredited university. Okay, so now you have both your academic degrees, the BCom and the CTA. It's time to get real-world working experience. Following your CTA, you'll enter into a 3-year training contract with a SAICA registered training office. During your training, you must pass 2 qualifying examinations: the initial test of competence, ITC, and the assessment of professional competence, APC. If you pass everything first time, the entire qualification process takes about 7 years from the time you enter university. Now I know what you're thinking. 7 years minimum? It does seem a long time, but trust me, it's worth it. When you're a qualified CASA, the doors to making a real difference in the world will open. That's because the CASA designation equips you with exceptional commercial acumen, professional skepticism, critical thinking, and the ethical framework you need to shape your world. And that means you don't just have to do traditional accounting work. Studying to become a CA opens a lot of doors here in South Africa and internationally. The world is literally your oyster. The bottom line is, if you choose well and work smart, you too can be a difference maker because you're a CASA.
To thank you all for your participation this evening. Let me start by thanking SAICA for hosting this Working World Exhibition career webinar on accounting. Wenga and convincing that I almost wanted to feel like I want to study again a new career in accounting. You were so convincing. So thank you for that. Maybe even in my old age, I can pick up a new career in accounting. So convincing were you. So thank you for that. Thank you for answering all the questions. Alwetu, thank you for facilitating for us, and to SAICA for hosting this evening's webinar. It's part of a series of webinars, and I just want to mention to the listeners the other webinars that are upcoming, if you don't mind. 26th of August is Careers in Engineering. 2nd of September, Careers in Architecture. 30th of September, Careers in the Pharmaceutical Sector. And 14th of October, Careers in the Maritime Sector. But I think for today, we've spoken about accounting. I want to thank you for your time and your effort. Thank you to all the viewers who participated and asked questions. And thank you for your time. And all the best for those who are wanting to study careers in accounting and become CAs. We wish you all the very, very best. You can still ask questions on the Working World Exhibition Facebook page if you would like to. And I'm sure we'll ask our facilitator and panelists to also go and keep the eye on the Working World Exhibition Facebook page and try and answer any questions that are posted there post this this careers webinar. Thank you very much, and to Twenga, Alwetu, and Abby, and all the participants, good evening, guys. Keep well.